right, so we got the man Michael right here, the man Peter
Here.
right here as well. So these guys have actually really scaled up with all-in arbitrage and actually left all-in arbitrage and started doing wholesale on Amazon these days. And I wanted to get them on basically because we met about 2 years ago. You guys both had joined the program as beginner sellers
At the same
right?
time.
Yeah.
And at the same time too. And you were brand new.
I didn't even know what an
Basically
AC
brand new,
was.
yeah.
But had sold shoes before.
I sold shoes for like 4 to 6 years before.
Right, and so now you guys are doing way different stuff. You're doing wholesale on Amazon. I just posted an Instagram stories like average out right about 200K past 30 days each.
Yeah, we're actually like 275.
Oh, I didn't even
That's
right there.
They're almost 3
Yeah.
coming for it.
And basically, I wanted to bring you guys on because it shows a good look down the line of what can happen beyond all-in arbitrage. Because it makes sense to not just be an Amazon seller, right? You want to evolve over time. You want to be an entrepreneur, right? And not even just at that point just be an all-in arbitrage seller. Like for example, a lot of people think of the idea of doing retail arbitrage, right? And they're like, man, their family's telling them you're going to be scanning in stores for 20 years. It's like, no, I'm going to learn skills and I'm going to move up over time.
Utilize them and
Yeah,
make more money,
exactly.
which is what we've actually done in real time. Yeah. We've definitely leveraged.
Yeah, and so just in terms of like your guys' like backgrounds, you want to just kind of fill us in on what made you want to get into selling on Amazon, just like your past.
Yeah,
life.
I actually have a really dope story to get into this.
I come from the entertainment space. I've been making music my whole life. Unfortunately, if you don't know, the music game from a business standpoint is horrible. The revenue model is terrible. I needed to step back and change my life in a real way. So I ended up finding his program years ago, being one of the first people that joined it, and hands down will say out loud that it changed my life for sure. Undebatable. And it's also allowed me to get back into my music 2 years later. So the power of Amazon's real. I don't need to sell you guys on that. But that's my story.
Yeah, and so basically you were pretty much like a rapper and entertainer.
Yeah, like full time. I have 300 songs out. Like that was career mode.
I didn't
real shit.
But the problem with that is it's a hobby for people, so it's really tough to compete, I would assume.
And
right?
it's oversaturated. We can get into that later too. It's like there's no real money in the space anymore. It just is what it is. Streaming ruined that game, and it's quite difficult to scale.
That makes sense. And Michael?
Yeah, so I started my business career at like 15, 16 years old, freshman in high school, selling shoes. Scaled that up, throughout high school, selling like few hundred shoes a year. Then COVID hit my 2020, my senior year of high school. I eventually scaled up to selling like 1,000 plus pair of shoes a month. Did that like for 2 years. Then during COVID, PlayStations,
Popping. That was the
PlayStation,
glory
Xbox.
Yeah, I wasn't in the flipping game.
I was probably selling I probably sold like 5 to 10,000 PlayStation and Xboxes. I was driving around every Target in Florida every week, just picking them up. And then
How old are you?
20, no, not 20, like 19.
Yeah, because
20.
you're 22.
I'm
right?
22 right now, and that was like 2021.
That's
so
crazy.
I was like a freshman, sophomore in college, and then towards the end of my sophomore year of college, just like 2022, the PlayStation and stuff started slowing down, and then we also had shoes started slowing down. The resale value wasn't there anymore. It was still there, but not as good.
The stimulus money.
The stimulus money exactly was gone. And then I started coming across the Amazon videos, and then I just happened to see his videos. It's like, I think you kind of stole some shoes too. So
We come from very similar backgrounds.
I think I was already following you, so like you just happened to be popping up in my feed.
Power of social media.
That we always talk about that, bro,
Yeah.
for meeting people and everything. Yeah.
And then I just ran into him in like April 2022. He's like, this is perfect because like I want to start Amazon. Here he is. He came from a shoe background. Put two and two together.
Yeah, and so you guys, like, especially just in terms, like, having done it right, like, it's very hard to sell on Amazon in general, right? And especially as a beginner, right, you got to get through that initial, first 3-6 months, basically. But you guys specifically were able to build initial momentum quick, right? Your, like, second month or something was, like, 10 grand of profit, right? Or something
I think my first... May was my first full month. I think it was like 40 or something.
40K rev, right? So it's gonna be like
so like
somewhere between like 6 and 10, depending.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It was all
could be even less because you're learning. Obviously.
Yeah, I was learning, made some bad purchases. Then I think
100%.
my June was like 80,
and then far from normal, but
Yeah.
that you were like very well.
Yeah, I was
equipped
just like
to
a
be
Chad
good.
Sealer.
Yeah.
That's what people
We had a
call
similar
it.
run though.
Yeah, and then like
third month we did 150. Like
yeah, and then my third month was in the hundreds. Yeah, and then
Sick, bro.
200s by August for back to school.
Yep. And that's like incredibly far from typical, right? But that is like what people who maybe have a reselling background, like, and really, really hit it hard and work together and everything, you know, can do basically, right? And that's, we want to make it very clear that was like these are outliers in terms of like what's possible.
Yeah,
Some on fast, right? Yeah, 100%. Like, dude, 6 figures profit your first year, like almost no one that has a like business done, right? It's incredibly hard to do basically, right? But what I want to do is just dig in on like the science of like why it specifically worked, right? And one big thing that goes along with that is that you guys work together, right?
I was
And
gonna
you
say
made
that.
friends in
Yeah,
the space,
I was gonna
right?
say that.
And I always talk about that, but this is like the first ever example we've had on the channel,
Proof of
like
concept.
literally in real life. Friends in the space besides like the
So,
occasional streets.
if I can tell that story, I remember when we first joined the program, he was on school, and you know everybody had to introduce themselves, and that was kind of the first time that I was part of something like this. And when you first join something, I'm sure a ton of you guys out there feel like this weird introverted. I don't want to put myself out
Which
there.
is completely normal.
People know too much already. I'm like late to the party. Let me just watch and learn. Nah, I did the exact opposite and forced myself to be active in the group, and then went the next step and told everybody to follow me on Instagram, and we put together a group chat, which I don't know if you guys do that now.
So I actually make it a lot more formal now, and obviously we don't just want to speak from like the context of like the program. It's much more important. Just as an Amazon seller in general, like there's free groups all over the place.
Yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
groups, Instagram, Twitter, and it's just so much more of a fun, enjoyable experience. Which when you do with
100%.
people,
Exactly.
I would have
100%.
definitely threw the towel in if I didn't have friends in the game, because it is mentally taxing at times like every other business.
Yeah.
But I ended up putting the group chat together, and we had met, and I was paying attention. I've told this story before, where I was paying attention to who was really trying to get it.
that's very key right there.
Yeah,
too,
we put a smaller group chat together, and we were doing Zooms twice a week, just the 4 or 5 people that I had met in the group. And now people were sharing leads, and we were discussing ideas and different things. And you know, when you're learning Keepa, there's 1,000 things to learn. You can't possibly think you're going to learn it all yourself in a week's time. So having people who knows other stuff allows you to get through that information gap so much faster, which is what we did and why we scaled so fast.
And not only does that make it easier, but it also makes it more fun, and it costs no money.
Yeah,
And you're on Zoom like chilling with your boys. It's like
So now
it's different.
you know it's serious though when you get the upgraded Zoom plan now.
Yeah.
When you pay the $10 a month, right? Because we've all been there like looping the 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's over. Y'all run it back. Yeah.
Right? And that, bro, that's like how like everything works in like the modern. It's one how everything's always worked, but definitely in the context of selling on Amazon, it's a really, really awkward thing. Like, okay, you know, we're speaking from we are 3 people that did not know each other 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever. Right now we're hanging out in person. We just got pizza. We also hung out, I think, back in February as well. Right? Some of our other homies. And it's a weird concept to meet random people on the internet, but it's how the world works these days with making money online, right? And it costs no money.
Only going to make us more money.
Yeah. And it
It's not a
costs
competition.
100%, right?
work
And now
together.
you brought up a good point, though. People obviously got to be serious, and that's why you need volume, and you need to be lots of people that do it, so you can take some time to see it come to fruition. Basically, and so when you started, you were basically like essentially like a recovering rapper, pretty much, like looking for a career change.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. After COVID, the whole industry itself kind of changed.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yo, I need to take a break. Like, this is not working out the way I wanted it to for fucking 10 years. Excuse my language. So that was it. I pivoted, and then time to use the bag and flip the bag.
Yep. And then so you were in college.
I was in college, and then it was my sophomore year in college when I started selling on
It was
Amazon.
end of sophomore.
End of sophomore year, so it was right before the summer started. So perfect time to start because all that free time, just learning Amazon. And that's what I did. I spent like hours every day learning everything about it. Because that's important. You gotta learn everything.
And it's like a big puzzle, and you need every piece to it, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have one little piece, it cannot make sense, or you can not feel sure.
Yes.
But the key is the big thing from what I've seen is like you have to stick around for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to give yourself some time to build a little momentum here, to get a little lucky on this product here, to have something sell 10 the first day you get it, and then you buy 40 of them, and then 22 sell the day they arrive. It's like, okay, I can really do this thing here, right? But you got to give yourself time to stick around and really evolve within the space, because it takes a lot to, initially get into it.
I remember one item selling the buy box all day, selling it for the moon, sold like 1,000 units of one item in one day.
That's honestly like bonkers stuff. But the key is that's what you.
I'm so close to that. Yeah, it's true.
It has
bro.
to be
It's true.
like a 50 sales rank or something.
Yeah, it was like a 10 sales rank item, but
Yeah.
you just got to go all in when you get the opportunity.
And once the market tells you that you should,
When you
too.
should,
And,
exactly. You gotta be
should-
smart about it.
100%.
Yeah.
Like I always say from like a risk reversal perspective, when you were a newer seller, like bro, with FBM and stuff, like you could buy 2 of something just to see how it does,
see how it
right?
does.
And then the
Absolutely.
market tells you that it was either good or bad, right? You know,
Yeah,
and then
FBM's great.
100% to learn quick, right? And I say typically you can expect daily sales around like 15 to 20 ASINs. So it's a sprint there initially as a beginner because that's going to be what's going to start the building the feedback loop for you as quick as possible too. So what are like the mistakes and like things you screwed up with all-in arbitrage? Definitely want to talk about like the wholesale side stuff transitioning beyond just OA, but like what are some of the mistakes you made with OA or things you would have done differently?
Definitely dialing into the credit card cycling more, which I happen to be very good at, thankfully, but I know people have had that problem in the past as well. Let's see, what else have I learned? To go deeper for sure on products, but also not go as deep at the same time.
To test.
You gotta
Test,
really
like,
gauge that.
you restock heavy.
Staying in stock is probably something that we still battle, and that's gonna change your business long term because every week you're out of stock, compounded on every product, you're missing tons and tons of sales. What do you got, Mike? What do you think mistakes you've made?
I should have networked more at the start. That's something I never liked doing.
Yes, completely.
I was gonna say I don't think anybody.
No,
likes
no,
it.
because well, you have no reason to.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean?
It's like
you have no reason
counterintuitive.
to. Super counterintuitive.
Yeah, 'cause I did,
You're gonna
like-
create your competition.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of how I was thinking.
Yeah.
But then once I realized like it worked better, I should have FBM'd more, especially during Q4. You make a shit ton of money doing that, so don't sleep on that.
So you got cute, is what you're saying. You tried to speculate. You trying to hold.
Yeah, I tried to be like a straight FBA guy, you know. But, like,
And that worked.
it worked really well.
They're
Like,
gonna lose upside.
yeah, I still should have done some more FBM, used more.
Crush in December though,
Yeah.
FBM still.
Didn't-
That's
Yeah,
the hustle.
took more advantage of coupons and stuff too. That's super important with OA. Coupons, discounted gift cards, all that good
It's
stuff.
like it's the only thing that actually makes things work.
Yeah.
The biggest problem for beginners is not being able to find stuff properly, right? So it's like every website, you got to go through the checklist. Does it have gift cards? Does it have rewards?
Yeah.
Is there any coupon? Can you find any coupon on Google? Capital One Shopping.
Capital One, yeah,
Right,
don't sleep on
exactly.
Capital One
Yeah.
shopping. That's the go.
That
Yeah.
saved me
A whole-
so much.
Right,
money.
yeah, Cooper, Honey. Is there a sale going on?
Yeah.
Like, for example, right now, when you guys are watching this, if you're watching it just came out, October 8th and 9th, Prime Day.
Prime Day,
You know,
yeah.
3 weeks after that, Halloween. A week after that, early Black Friday. sale.
And then Black Friday.
Right, and Black Friday 3 weeks after that, and it's later this
And
year.
it's just straight Christmas.
right, and then it gets really
Yeah.
easy in respect to like other times of the
Exactly.
year, basically too.
Perfect time to start.
Yep, and the key here is what I like really want to emphasize is that like this was a full-time commitment for you guys immediately, and that's why it worked. And
100%.
obviously, that's not always possible. You were literally in school, so you had stuff going on all.
Yeah, that's why I kind of
With
like
that.
I wanted to start right when this year was ending. I had all summer to learn. So when school started back up, I was kind of like in the zone already.
Yeah, and that's like a major component of it working quickly is really, really identifying with it immediately and like entrancing it as like part of your life.
Yeah.
basically, right?
It's like
And
you
really owning
yourself
it. Yeah, really owning it.
No
yeah.
safety net. I'm
Yeah.
a big proponent of like back against the wall panic mode in a sense. I always feel like
Very young male of you. Yeah, I'd say.
Well, if you can manufacture that feeling, no matter how far along in your success journey you are, if you can manufacture that feeling, you will force yourself to figure things out. That bottom line, period. As soon as you start getting comfortable, it's like, well, I don't really have to do that, so maybe I'll get to it when I get to it. Versus when I started Amazon, it was very much like, no, I'm going to apply myself and figure this out. And I was working 18-hour days, which I've said in our interview years ago.
Yeah.
And that's real talk.
And you obviously 18-hour days aren't necessarily necessary, but it's the more you work you can put in, the more you can focus on it, the more you can look for an edge, the more you can look for people to talk to you. That's going to pay down the ignorance and just make it come quicker.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite quotes is that like business models don't fail, but people do. Now, obviously, there's nuance to that, of course, right? But in general, that you want to view things through like an empowering perspective, basically, and everything. And that like these guys have made every mistake in the book selling Amazon. I've made every mistake selling the book Amazon, but years later, still here due to perseverance, working hard, staying consistent, right?
100%.
But the key too, as well, is Mr. Beast talks about this all the time. But you have avoided his mistakes.
That's why.
Yeah, he's sharing the mistakes.
Right? Yeah, you guys avoided my mistakes and everything, right? And that's why, like, you guys are, 15 minutes into watching this video now, you're learning stuff, to avoid here, right? Because I think a really easy frame to view things through is like, what would you do if your goal was to not succeed selling on Amazon? I would not source every day. I wouldn't find any friends to work with it on. I would never watch content like this, right? I would never do retail arbitrage. The employees at my retail arbitrage places wouldn't know me if I was doing it.
That's very important.
Right? I would only expect things to be profitable at the advertised price. I would never do any discounting to them. Right? I would only ever buy from websites that are super easy to find, where I can see the competition going up and the price going up. And if you just do the opposite, all that shit becomes a lot easier right there. So you guys had a great first year with OA, right? And these days, it's probably no online arbitrage, right?
Nah.
Right. Basically zero.
Exactly. And so why is that, and what does your business look like now?
I think there's a bottleneck around OA, and I think we've discussed this privately. I think long term, like I would still 2024 start doing OA. That's how I would personally start. That's
so
how
much
I
less
would
risky.
Recommend.
Margins,
there's so many pros to it in the beginning. To stay long term and scale the business, you start to hit a bottleneck after a certain amount of capital gets injected into the company. After a certain amount of time goes by, you start to see the inefficiencies in that model, and wholesale becomes a lot more attractive.
And so what is wholesale for people who might not be familiar?
Aside from probably the oldest way to make money in the book, it is taking volume of quantity of product and selling it at a discounted price. So we're doing the buying side of that. We're taking a big SKU list, finding all of the products that do well, and we're buying them in volume opposed to buying 1 or 5 or 10 from an online site. We're dealing with big distributors, we're dealing with wholesalers, we're dealing with brands directly that don't know how to sell on Amazon. There's tons that go into it, but it's basically buying in bulk.
Yep, as opposed to buying typically smaller quantities, online arbitrage. Now, you can do big weight with online arbitrage, but at a certain point, your skills as an entrepreneur, in my opinion, can be served better elsewhere, which in the context of Amazon tends to be wholesale. Really wholesale job because it's the same data, basically, right? So you start out online retail 2 years ago, right? And then switching up to the wholesale model. So what does that look like today, basically, in respect to like prep center, warehouse, employees, etc.?
Today, we actually have a warehouse together.
Yep. Another perk of working with people
so
that
you cut the costs.
We split the cost of 50-50, and we get pallets in weekly.
So those are the big things that come in. Are you driving the pallet jack, or who's driving the pallet jack?
Nah, we get a lift gate.
Lift gate.
A little.
Yeah,
gotcha.
We have the pallet jack. We get the big 18-wheel trucks to the warehouse. They unload the pallets. We bring them in. Then we prep them, ship them back out to Amazon, either back on the pallet, or we'll ship them out UPS, depending on the business.
PD, if it makes sense.
We just see what makes sense.
Why would it make sense? I'm curious. Why would it?
Because weight is a huge factor in LTL, but check-in times are also a huge factor.
Because LTL is slower to unless you live in like
slow.
Jersey and are dropping off there. That's
Or if you're doing full truckload, but full truckload, you also have to do,
a ton of pallets. I don't even really know. I think 12. I could be wrong.
We have 26 pallets fit on a full truck, but the thing is, you're also paying over $1,000 for the full truck. So if you're shipping more than like 10 pallets, it gets worth it. But we're not always shipping like 10 pallets at a time. So UPS, they want things in the fastest, and we're shipping small, light stuff. UPS, way to go.
Got you. So basically, almost everyone wants this going to be doing small parcel delivery. But once you're sending out, when does it make sense to do LTL specifically? Like
big heavy stuff.
Big.
It depends on also quantity. Wholesale, you can buy hundreds of thousands of units.
And that's the bottleneck with OA is that you can't in many cases. Now, occasionally you can, but in most cases
I can do that with one phone call and a wire transaction opposed to looping orders and making sure that they don't cancel.
And there's a whole bunch of problems. A whole bunch of problems. Now, on the flip side, with OA, the prep center model works great because the no sales tax and everything, but wholesale,
Did the prep center model.
exactly, the average sale price tends to be lower, which means you can't afford to pay $1.50.
Not necessarily though. Like
You got to be a little bit more selective.
for the past, I don't know, 8 months of our wholesale journey, we've been selling higher ASP products where it's like 120 average, per unit.
And so then you totally could use the prep center
Yeah,
match my
yeah,
logistics
yeah.
and everything, which is you wouldn't typically expect.
Yeah.
Right? And everything, and that proves, right? Like, for example, Q4 is going on, or about to be going on, and a lot of people are asking, like, what are the best products for Q4? It's whatever you can find profit.
Exactly.
Whatever you can find profit, right?
Don't
Which is
limit
difficult
yourself.
to do. Yeah.
Just
Almost
go.
everything's going to sell.
Yeah.
As long as it shows moving on the keep it chart, as long as you can find it profitably and everything. And then, so the setup of like actually switching from OA to wholesale, that's a process like a lot of people want to do, but it's like a very difficult thing to do.
It is very difficult.
So I assume it's probably a step back. At some point, you got to
slow
step
back.
OA buying, right?
The way I did it was probably not the smartest way, but I quit cold turkey.
Really? You quit out? Really? Okay, I would assume that's not.
Yeah, that's not the smartest way, but I just came to the conclusion one day, it's like, I want to do wholesale. So I
And
stopped.
when is that? Like February 2023 or when?
This was like, it was in 2023 for sure. I got my first warehouse in August of 2023.
Yeah, you did it right when we
So
were
it was around that time, like August, like summer 2023, I would say.
Yeah.
I just kind of quit cold turkey one day, and it took a step back for a month. But once I got it all situated, went 3 steps forward.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, normally a 1 month transition period is not
No, it's not normal.
Like you have to be hammering the phones, you have to be
Yeah, it's a
on
very
top of
different
it,
skill
follow-up
set.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
again,
wild.
back to the relationship building that we were talking about earlier is like wholesale is primarily all relationships. You're dealing with real people on the other side of the phone. You're not dealing with the chatbot on, whatever website you're buying from. So you have to take time to develop these relationships, garner them. You have to take time to find these distributors and suppliers. Our transitional period was probably a 2-month lag, but we were heavy OA stocked still when we were going through that. But
Yeah,
mine came through a relationship that I had already developed that had a relationship with a supplier.
And without
Leveraging
getting
the
into too
friendships.
much detail, right? It's you're in the mix.
Yeah.
You know people, right?
Yeah.
That's people know that you're serious. People know
Yeah.
that you're about it with business.
Yeah.
That's never a bad thing.
And
right?
to your point, that happened again about 2 months ago when we were in Vegas.
Good times.
I was with a bunch of my friends, met a new supplier, and had walked out of there with $100,000 order done, completed. It was over.
And there are a lot of reasons why. One, you've been doing it for a couple of years. You've given yourself time to get confident with everything. And two, were the homies involved in the group buy as well?
No.
Pricing that? Okay, so it was just you.
Yeah.
But homie tapped you in on it,
Yeah,
basically.
without him,
Made
he
the
wouldn't have done it.
introduction,
Yeah.
and that's that. And that's how things happen. So it's all relationship based, though. You have to just make sure you fight that introversion and just do what needs to get done.
Yeah, and it's very different because it's like you go from like trying to finagle around order canceling the website to get enough product with OA, which becomes an issue in my opinion. In the ballpark of between 100K in rev per month and 300K.
That was my biggest thing that made me
Yeah.
just want to quit cold turkey.
Yeah,
It's like,
because you could do all that work to find listings and have them cancel.
I got tired.
Yeah, literally.
They started bothering me, and in wholesale, and like I could spend $50,000 in one go and just be done for a few days.
And just a more professional process, and like if units are raw, you know what I mean? And everything
Yeah,
educated.
if you want to go real.
That's another thing that nobody talks about. Do you know how much money and like percentage that just gets leaked?
Yeah,
through
you
the
got to be on
process?
all that
All the
stuff.
leaks
Oh,
just
fly
go
sheets and
off.
everything. Yeah, you got to be on top of all
But
that.
just the wrong stuff coming to the house because whoever's working the back end at these retail stores has a negative 4 IQ.
Yeah.
Like it's real talk.
Or you get-
I've gotten many things that I didn't order. I'm like, what is this?
And you get the items with the security tag still on them.
Oh, I've gone to war with some of those. Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so overall, it's like OA is better lead time. The products get to you quicker. Better margins if we're talking blanket statement on that. It's obviously
Yeah.
very subjective.
I'd even feel comfortable
Right.
saying that.
100%.
Better margins.
And then
yeah.
easier to start.
Easier to start
Right.
100%. Any new seller should do OA unless they
And
have.
OA and RA too.
They are-
Yeah,
yeah, I consider
those the same.
Yeah, I mean, everybody did the same thing except RA's done in store. I did quite a bit of RA at the Nike LA.
I did it for 4 times, and I was like, nope, I'm going to sit on the computer.
And work a little bit harder.
I don't know. I think if you live in an area where you have good outlet access, like in Orlando, where there's like
That's the capital, right?
Yeah, there's like there's like 10 Nike outlets within 30 minutes of each other. Yeah, do RA, because I know people who are doing like 100,000 plus a month just going to Nike outlets every
Find the
single day.
same SKUs, right?
Same thing every single day.
Yeah, and then wholesale, right? So it's a little bit lower margins, way more scalable, way more long term, way more delegatable as well. Because it's like
100%.
there's so much like magic involved with OA sourcing, and there's very little magic involved with like, all right, we'll call enough people, XYZ amount respond, XYZ amount open the account, XYZ amount are actually probably you figured that out over
Yeah,
time.
figure it out.
Basically, but more scalable, more capital intensive. And then definitely like way more of a real business. Like, very few OA sellers have like domestic employees that aren't just packaging up stuff.
Yeah.
There are unlimited wholesale companies, both on Amazon and elsewhere, right? People expand on all the time, that have US based employees that aren't just packaging up stuff, right? That can open accounts, buy
They have managers.
Yeah, right?
They
Literally.
have managers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really exist as much with OA. It does in certain cases, right? But it makes a lot of sense too. In my opinion, just your skill set's better served not focusing as much on OA once you get to a certain point because there's bigger games to play. But OA is a great low risk way to learn the process of selling on Amazon. Basically, I got started selling on Amazon selling used books, which luckily most people don't have to do these days. Because you can sell A brand stuff.
Because you're back,
Right?
you know?
Exactly. But that taught me Amazon for basically no money, right? Then I was prepared and I already trusted when I got into OA in the way that you already trusted reselling because you had shoe experience.
Exactly. So it's kind of like I just kept on buying shoes just for a different place to sell them.
Yeah. And so for anyone watch this who already has consistent OA sales, wants to get in wholesale, similar to you guys a year and a half ago, what does that process initially look like in your opinion?
It's going to be slow at the start because you got to learn it. You're going to have to research on Google, looking up. I would make a list of like 100 wholesalers, just list them on a Google spreadsheet, phone number, website, and their email. And then one day after you got like 100 on the list, just call and email every single one. And make a list on the day you contact them. So if they don't respond or say no, you can follow up in a week or 2 weeks or so on and so forth.
So I don't just hit them up once, and if they don't hit me,
No,
I gotta quit on it, follow up.
Some of them will say no, or some of them just won't answer. So you got to follow up. If you don't follow up, it's not for you. Like,
But
you're not getting anything.
Just as OA is not surface level and you have to find sales, you have to find coupons, you have to find discount codes, all of that stuff is very, very much the same in wholesale. It's just different things, and you'll have different requirements that each supplier is going to ask you for that you have to learn how to sell around or figure out and navigate differently. If I was to do the wholesale transition again, though, to give you guys some tactical information, I'd probably say go find somebody's store, how you guys storefront stock, find somebody's store that has like 250 plus reviews, and then go through their store and see the brands that they're selling. Majority of the time, you're going to find out that they're not OA brands, and those are the brands that I target. I'd either go into the store and buy some of them to find a distributor number on the back,
or not even go in and buy some.
or just go online, or Google where to find this brand wholesale, whatever city you're in, whatever country you're in. And start making phone calls. I'd build a list just like he said, and then I'd take 1 day or 2 days a week to contact that list to make sure the workflow is easy, and then really hammer the follow-up game. You got to warm these leads up, you got to get nice on the phone, and you'll you'll start opening accounts. So it's not that hard. You just have to do
it's
it.
a volume equation,
Yeah,
which is kind of like anything, right? But
Call
takes a lot of
100
work.
people, you may open 10 of those accounts, and only 2 of them may be good. So.
But you could knock out 100 in a day if you're really.
Oh yeah.
Hell
Yeah, 100%.
I'm my VA.
Yeah, because most of the initial conversations are not long at all.
Oh, so pretty quick you get to know like if it's gonna be something worth pursuing.
Yeah, like on your first talk, you're not going to tell them your whole life story. It's just like usually a yes or no.
No, I would also leave out that you sell on Amazon. I wouldn't not tell them, but I would leave
because
it out.
they hear from Amazon people who aren't serious all day and they want you to prove you're serious. This obviously don't do wholesale.
Yeah. It's deeper than that. A lot of these brands now, we could get into that quick, a lot of these brands are tightening down with the Amazon community because they either see the power and want to get on the platform
Which is
themselves.
very reasonable, yeah.
Very reasonable. Or they feel like they lose control of their brand presence and their aura on these platforms, if you want to use that term. So that is probably why a lot of these distributors, there's tons of other reasons, but that's why they're cracking down and don't want to deal with guys like us that'll come in the game in the beginning and ask for 10 units, you know? And it's like, I need this to ungate. No, bro, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Because they've probably been in business for years, having no mortar quantities and everything. And I don't obviously necessarily bring this up to scare people in general, but it's like people all the time will say, like, I want to get into wholesale. It's like, all right, bro, you ready to make 50 calls tomorrow? And it's, the answer is
continue to do it.
Right? when it's not working, right?
Yeah,
Meanwhile, with OA, you walk into your local retail store, you can make progress to that.
That's
Exactly.
Yeah, or with our
That's why
Yeah.
new sellers, I recommend OAR.
Yeah, me too. I would start tomorrow the same way I started 2 years ago. It doesn't matter, like, I understand the differences now. I would still do exactly what I did.
Yeah, I would say from, like, obviously seeing you guys come up and then a lot of other people, and a lot of other people have it not work too, 100%,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? This is absolutely not for everyone, right? But it's like, you do it for a while, you find people to work with on it to save mistakes and save time, right? That's free. First part was free too, right, as well. And then basically give yourself long enough for it to click. Q4 is going to be huge. Back to school, next dog's going to be huge, but Q4 is like the big one. And then test as light as you can, right? Reduce risk, and then let the market tell you what to go heavy,
Exactly.
right? Basically, and every moat you can get, do it. Tax it, boom. Give the cards, boom. Sales tax, boom.
Take advantage of everything.
Right, and then work with the boys. Right,
That's probably the most
whole
important
thing.
piece
Yeah,
of
like,
this.
and there's a reason we've done 150 Buy Box Bandits episodes, and like 148 of them are like, I just buy what my buddy's buying.
Yeah.
That's it. But it's like when you're at square one and you're like, you know, is this guy Miles really telling the truth about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're like-
absolutely.
and
I was, you know,
we
at
get
the
that,
beginning,
bro.
we
I
were
was the
skeptical, too.
same way about Amazon back in the day and everything. But like in general, like business models work. You just have to. You have to stay consistent. You have to work hard, and good things will happen over time if you do that, right? And if it's, you know, a week or 3 months, it's going to be very difficult for it to get very good at something, right? Similar to anything in life, for example, right? And so we were talking about you guys are, you know, becoming a little bit more active on socials because you and I were talking about 7 months ago. We hung out for the first time in person, right? And it was like basically. I haven't needed to do social media to find people because you hit so right initially, right? Just with the gang you met through whatever, right? But in general, right, for most people, the free version of that, which is a great way to do it, in my opinion, is to just document your journey on social media, right? Which is an uncomfortable thing. Good, that's why no one does it, except the people who win.
That's it.
Right? You can design the Amazon seller. So where can people find you guys on socials?
I'm on Instagram pretty consistently at ITSPDOUBLE. It's P double if you can't spell.
So we got a mixture of music and Amazon.
Yeah, my socials is Michael, MICHAEL Shenbaum, which is my last name, SHENBAUM, on every platform. I'm pretty active right now on Instagram and TikTok, so if you go on there, you'll see me.
Yep, and it'll be linked in the description too, so make sure you follow these boys. Super proud of them and everything. And this is just, you know, in my opinion, like a textbook first couple of years of selling on Amazon, getting the ball rolling light, getting some feedback from the market on if what you're doing is correct, stopping the stuff that wasn't correct, doing more of the stuff that is correct, innovating, thinking long term, finding cool people to work with and everything. And that's a pretty consistent formula for it to work if you give yourself time to.
Anything in life, just that's great life advice,
right? And selling on Amazon is very hard. It's not for everyone, right? But it is a worthwhile vehicle if you're willing to put the work in to make it good, which obviously not everyone
You
is.
have to put the work in.
Right? But yeah, proud of these fellas.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you guys in person. Now we're about to hop on a live stream too. So we'll see you guys next one. Follow these boys on Instagram.
Yep.
See you
See you guys.
See you guys later.
Later.